In this video, I talk about the things that I would do if I was just starting to collect comic books in 2021. What's going on, guys? Justin here, aka No Good Comics, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about the idea of what I would do if I was just starting to collect comic books right now in 2021. So with that being said, take a moment, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you guys, as always, taking the time to hang out with me and watch some of these videos. So yeah, with this being said, these are some things that I wish I knew if I were just starting out right away. And maybe either you watching right now, maybe you're new to the hobby, or you know somebody that is looking to just dive into this comic book hobby for the first time. And really, these are just some pieces of advice that I would consider or would like to know myself if I was just starting out. So starting off at number 5, you have to figure out what you like, right? I mean, that's first and foremost. And a lot of people ask the question of like, where do I start? Like it's such a big hobby, you know, there's so many different avenues that you can go down, different reasons to collect, different reasons to read. There are so many different characters that are involved, writers and creators and artists that are involved. You know, where do you start? Do you go back to the old stuff? Can you jump in with the new stuff? You know, you hear about these indie books that are now launching and really blowing up. You hear about, you know, these key books that people are talking about, first appearances and special events that are happening within these comics. You know, things that are based on movies and films and things like that. So I think one of the best ways to kind of define that for yourself as to answer the question of like where to start and figure out what you like is to ask yourself, why were you even thinking about this hobby in the first place? What is it that even sparked the idea of or got your attention to want to look into this comic book hobby? And so maybe as an example, maybe you just watched Falcon and Winter Soldier or WandaVision, and you really like what Disney Plus has put out there and these, you know, cool new TV shows, or maybe you've been watching the Avenger movies that have been out, and that is what, you know, struck a chord in what you were interested in. You know, if that's the case, if you're into some of these stories that you've been watching on Disney Plus or on the films that have been coming out, you know, look into those characters, look into Captain America, look into Falcon and Winter Soldier. They are all based on specific books that are out there, or, you know, specific characters that have been written for years. So there's a lot of different content that's out there that you could really do to look into things. Like I mentioned, WandaVision, if you want to learn more about Scarlet Witch and her history and her past of what she's gone through and how she got to what she is today, you know, throw it in Google and just start looking up, you know, different series, different popular series and things like that. You know, or maybe you're approaching this hobby because you had a friend who suggested a book to you, said, hey, I think you'd really like this story. Maybe you should check this out. If that's the case, maybe you want to continue to talk to that friend and ask them, like, what else could I be reading? What else are you reading right now? What is it that you're enjoying? Really just trying to define what it is that you like is the most important thing. And some of the best ways to go about it is, you know, defining for yourself, like, well, what is it? What is it that got you into the thought of this to begin with? So keep that in mind as you start going through and figuring that out for yourself. Coming in at number 4 on my list here, I would say to set a budget. Yes, a monetary budget that you are willing to spend, whether it's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or so on and so forth. Because I will say this hobby is really easy to let get out of hand, where you just want to buy every book that you see. And especially as you start to see these variant covers that come out along with, you know, you'll see you have a cover A and a cover B, and they both are really attractive. So you might want to buy both of them, right? But if you do that for like 5 different titles, and you now have 10 different books that you're buying every week, and it can be really, really expensive. And then also, if you're going back to buy some of the old books, you might notice, you know, some of these quote unquote key books that are out there, first appearances and special events that have happened to certain characters. Those books are starting to go up in price, and they're pretty pricey. So, you know, you don't want to go too out of control with you know, how you're spending. Obviously, you can do whatever you want to do, but I will say I do feel there is a healthy way to go about it, and then there's an irresponsible way to go about it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is be responsible with your money. Make sure that you have food on the table, that you're taking care of your family and your health health first and foremost before you go into putting all this money into a hobby that you're just starting to explore. If I know for myself, when I first, really jumped into this hobby, I was buying everything that I saw. I was picking up all these cool variants. I was buying all these books some books that I didn't even care about the characters. I just thought the artwork was cool, or I heard somebody was, hyping up a book and saying, "Oh, you got to pick this up, check this out." I end up buying all these books, and then half of them I didn't even care for. So that's one of the biggest things is like, being cautious about, we talked about defining what it is that you like first and foremost. That's going to take some time. But then on top of that, be careful with your budget. Really strategize on, what you're going to invest in, what you're going to buy first and foremost to really allow yourself to do that exploration at a reasonable pace so that you're not going overboard or getting into massive debt or anything like that, because that can ruin the hobby, as you might not have fun once you're in massive debt and think that, it starts to affect other parts of your life. So just keep that in mind, consider a budget, consider a limit on how many books you might buy, and so on and so forth. All right, so number 3 on my list is to build a relationship with your LCS owner and their employees. I have to say that that's been one of the best ways for me to get a lot of knowledge just in general about this hobby. If I had any questions or wanted to know any details about how to do something like how to protect my books, how to store my books, what kind of new books have come out recently, who are some good writers to look into, some good artists to look into, all that you can get from your LCS, your local comic shop. I should clarify that. Your LCS, your local comic shop, the owners, the people that work there, the employees, because they're there. This is like part of their lifestyle, right? They're surrounded by it. And so they probably have a lot of knowledge on this stuff. So, just being able to build that relationship that hey, I'm a customer that's going to be shopping here on a weekly basis or bi-weekly or monthly, don't be a stranger to them. If you started to develop this friendship or this relationship, it can get to the point where they might, keep an eye out for certain books for you. If they know that, you're looking for a specific character or a first appearance key, or, you're looking to get into something new, they might, as new books come out, they might pull them aside and say, "Hey, Justin, I know that you're starting to get into Spider-Man. I just want to let you know this new Spider-Man book has come out. It's a whole different angle at the character. I thought you might like it. I wanted to put it aside to see, what your thoughts were." So at least they can kind of make those suggestions for you. And who knows, you might discover some really cool things that you didn't know about before. And then, like I said, if you just have general questions about what you should do with, how to ship books, how to protect your books, different situations like that, a lot of times those employees and the owners can give you some general advice that it can at least steer you in the right direction so that you don't make some massive mistakes along the way. Okay, coming in at number 2, it may sound kind of vague, but it really can be applied to everything, and that is do your research. Yeah, do your research on anything that you're doing. And really, a lot of this goes into, I talked about budget, and I talked about, trying to figure out what you want to buy and really exploring. And obviously that's going to take time and probably a lot of money in the beginning. But do your research on a couple things: where you can get your deals, where you can buy books, whether it's your digital stuff or you're buying books physically. Consider where or how much these books are going for, because like I said earlier, some of these books are a lot of money. Some of these key first appearances can cost a lot of money, and you want to make sure you're paying the right price. If you are going onto websites like eBay, or if you're buying on Instagram, or if you're buying on Facebook or other social media platforms, before you just go spending a lot of money, you want to do your research. And again, I mean, that can apply to anything that you do in life, right? But I definitely have seen people spend a lot of money, and I'm included in that, on buying certain books. And so you want to make sure that you know what you're buying, that you're not buying like a fake, or you're not buying something that's damaged, that's not really worth what is that you're paying, the number that you're paying, that you want to make sure that you are getting what it is that you actually want to get. So, do your research on this stuff. And then same thing with, figuring out what you like. Start Googling different artists, different creators, different writers, and really start to explore that avenue as well to kind of discover for yourself what else is out there. So I know it's more of a general sense of things, but I really do want to remind people always, whatever it is that you're buying, especially if you're putting any amount of money into it, you should always do some sort of research and figure out for yourself what it is that you're buying. Is this legit? Is this safe to buy? Is this the correct thing that I think that it is, before you go throwing a lot of money into anything? So that's my number 2 tip. Make sure you do your research. And the number one thing that I wish I knew if I was just getting into the hobby today in 2021, I would love to know the fact that there is a comic book community out there, right? I've talked a lot about this in the past. Maybe you've caught some of my other shows like Comic Collector Origins, where I actually talk to and interview members of this comic book community. But I will say, when I first got into this hobby, I had no idea that there were other people as passionate as I was about really exploring and getting into certain characters that I could just straight up communicate with and get to know, without, throughout this hobby. I feel like for myself, I didn't have many people in person, personally that I knew that were really into this hobby, and so it was, a little harder for me to like, who can I talk to about comics? Who can I talk to about this cool new book that I just read, or this new character that I just discovered, or this new story that I just started to read and really enjoying the artwork and so on and so forth. Like, obviously these are things that we want to do, right? Not only do we want to read the books, but we want to talk about them. So the perfect thing is, guess what? There is a community out there, and it's on you to really go out there and explore it. I know we just talked about doing research. Well, this kind of ties into that. And the best way to do it is, for me personally, I would recommend creating an Instagram account, creating a YouTube account. Whether you're putting videos out there or not, you don't necessarily need to, put content out there per se, but just start following channels, start following Instagram accounts that are posting really cool books, really cool character drawings and artwork, things that you like, things that you are interested in, because you'll be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that are really interested in the same things that you are. So, as you start to, maybe start posting photos. I know that's how it started for me. I started to just post pictures of my comic books on Instagram, and I started to notice that the same people would start liking that, liking my book, my comments and or my pictures, leaving comments on them and telling me what they thought of them, reaching out to me via instant messenger or DMing me and just letting me know, like, hey, I saw you read this book. I really liked that. What'd you think? And that just made the hobby 10 times better than what it was when I was just first exploring it. So if you are new to this hobby, or if you're just approaching it for the first time and you're not really familiar with that idea, well, guess what? There's a huge community of people out there just like me and you that are really passionate about this hobby, about collecting comic books, about reading comic books, about talking about the comic books that we're reading. And really, I encourage you to take advantage of getting to know people, like go out there and share with the world what it is that you're enjoying and what your thoughts are on certain books and certain artists and writers, where you stand with certain things that have come out, and along the way you're going to meet a lot of really cool people. For myself, I know I've met so many incredible friends in this hobby that I truly consider lifelong friends at this point. So that is how cool. I mean, that's the opportunity that's out there for you to actually be able to make these types of connections that you wouldn't otherwise, just from being home. So that is my number one thing to consider on the list. If you are new to the to comic book collecting and reading, if you're just diving into this comic book hobby for the first time, I know for myself, if I was just starting out this year in 2021, that is the number one thing that I wish I would have known, is that there is such a great community out there and great people to get to know and share this passion with. So, those are my top 5 things. Just a little list I wanted to throw together for you guys. Again, if you are new to this hobby, I hope this helped. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of this list. Maybe you've been in this hobby for a long time, and you know someone who is, considering getting into the hobby. Feel free to pass this along to them. And hey, who knows? Maybe this helped you, even though you might be a veteran or you might have been collecting for a few years now. I think it's always important to kind of rehear some of these things and make sure that, am I covering all these bases? Am I clarifying for myself, what it is that I'm getting into? Why, what am I liking? What am I budgeting correctly? Am I being responsible with spending and what it is that I'm buying, so on and so forth. So, just some tips out there for anybody really that might be looking for it. So I've just been trying to do a lot more of these lately on my channel. So I really do appreciate everybody who's taken the time to watch this video. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will talk to you guys later.